Welcome. You are now tuning in to For the Culture.
For the Culture!
Brought to you by Kulture Klub Collaborative. I am your host, Dez. I got the crew here with me today. Who's with me?
You got your boy Vaughn.
Your boy Ra.
And Manny.
Guys, this is a special day today. We are actually going to trade out the current events for a TED Talk type of style. We just going to call this For the Culture Talk right now. Mm-hmm. So let's start it off the best way possible. Ra, can you go ahead and ask that first important question that the culture needs to hear?
So the first question that we've been pondering on, we came up with a little minute ago. It is, what would an abundant African Black society look like? What would an abundant African society, or what would an abundant Black society? African and Black are synonyms in this context. What would it look like to you?
Okay. Does anybody want to jump on that first, or are you guys gonna throw me in real quick?
You might as well go.
Okay. For me, it's definitely gonna look like more love, and what I mean by that is, growing up, I felt like I had to search for that love when I had Black brothers and sisters around me who could have given me that love. And I felt like I had to have some type of validation or something to get that, or I had to do something to get that. So for me, it's getting out of that stigma of we gotta like fit in, mm-hmm. or Black is like a thing, you know what I mean? Like we're just people like the rest of us, so it's not a certain thing you have to do or a certain way you have to look to be Black. But I feel like as Black people, we have a hard time accepting ourselves. So acceptance and more love, I'm gonna start off with that for sure.
Real.
Anybody want to piggyback on that?
Okay, I'll tap in right here. I would say consciously together we're all on a level playing field or same field, or thinking about moving into the next right steps.
Right.
That's what it would look like to me, as well as the infrastructure, our own built infrastructure. We need our own type of target, own art. We need that type of stuff, starting with there, as well as school education systems, our own, learning our own history, not his story, our history.
Right.
That's what I see it.
Vaughn?
Oh, this is a tough question. I don't really know, because this question new to me, because I ain't, so it's like,
Yeah, you want to know what the funny thing is? I feel like these conversations are the ones that need to be had, but then when you do ask them to some people, it's like, they're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it is a surprising question because we aren't thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right. we aren't thinking about it until we have that conversation. So, I mean, if you could put a pinpoint on it, like, what would be an abundant environment for the Black community in your eyes? Like, what do you think that you see this, like, an issue that could be fixed?
We gotta stop killing each other. That's one thing. Like we're taking our pain on each other and turning against each other when we supposed to really be sticking together. Because if we stick together, we can be so powerful in getting the other people out businesses and start our own, really. Because if you really think about it, back then we were so powerful. We were dominant. Like now, they're keeping us under the rug and trying to push us away. But if we can actually stick together, man, this world would be in a different environment. But now,
I definitely agree. Promoting, unity, promoting a shared identity, and definitely promoting having our own thing, being governed by us and created by us. Like Brother Manny was saying, like our own education systems. Right now, we have to use the public education system. If you don't go to private school, it's not really made for African people. As far as really any system, the health department, the justice system, the anything that is created here in this nation is not reflective of our people. So creating something that is reflective of our people. The things that are here, they work for the people that built them, and that's what it's supposed to be. So once we realize that, we didn't build these things, and that's probably the reason it's causing so much harm, and probably the reason why it's so deadly for a lot of us. So we need to go and create our own thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to that next question. Why is it important to preserve African slash Black culture? And we're here on For the Culture, so this means a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and start off. Music, fashion, just the overall lifestyle that everyone has taken from a community and decided, oh, this is the negative part or this is the bad part. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like our culture has been picked apart to the point where it's glorified when it's cool stuff, when it's basketball, you know what I mean, and it's all the things that we're good at, it's glorified. But then when it's like what Vaughn was saying, with basically the violence on black violence, we get looked at and we do a couple of good things and then the rest is kind of like almost like we're animals, in my opinion. So I think the important thing for the culture to do to preserve Black culture is to actually really truthfully celebrate it, you know? I'm not gonna lie to you. Black History Month, trash. Black History Month is trash to me because it's so like dumbed down to the point where it's almost like the 4th of July in a way to me. Like, it's almost like what I don't know what we are celebrating, you know?
It's been co-opted for sure.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean, because I feel like if we're actually gonna be celebrating us, then let's celebrate the things that we use. Let's celebrate the do-rags, the picks, the things that is considered ghetto when we're wearing it in public. Let's celebrate those and normalize those and start telling people why we wear silk do-rags, because it helps our hair.
Toilet was also invented by an African.
Talk about it.
Burn fact. That's
Talk about it.
Fact I have to throw out there.
So why is it important for us to
preserve our
culture?
Really, we can't keep getting, used for our arts and what we have. They're monetizing off of our things. Whether it's basketball, sports, music, the music industry for sure. That's not even us running it.
No.
The company Vivendi runs it, and that's all the other side. So
yeah, and you think about the music impact.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's country or if it's Spanish music. It's all got a taste of the real culture in it, you know. So
culture that really, loves that 808, but what is that 808 really doing? It's only entering that root chakra, that lower chakra. It's not uplifting us for real.
Right.
I want to say, just to provide some clarity, the question is, why is it important to preserve African/Black culture? I just wanted to be made aware that any African person in America or in Canada, on the continent, in Brazil, in the Caribbeans, all of those cultures are Black culture, and we got to make sure we understand that there has been a virus or a cancer that has been put into our culture by some other people, and it's making it destructive against ourselves. So really, we're accepting somebody else's culture and calling it human and calling it ours and saying that it's normal behavior, when in reality it's not. And so we need to, when we're looking at our culture, we need to remove all of the things that we have had to learn through, Lon mentioned us killing each other. All of those crimes, all of the black on black crime is just it's rooted in white on black crime. There's been hundreds of years, centuries of us being violently attacked, and the result of that is us violently attacking each other. So once we understand that our culture has a lot of some other people's culture mixed into it, we got to remove those things and then return back to something that's pure and return back to something that's actually going to be lively and not death.
I love that, because I feel like the way the culture has gone, it has gone into a different direction, and that's kind of what I mean. Like, now Black culture is kind of looked at as a negative thing because there's so many negative things that have taken over, like the music and just the way our Black women treat us Black men is different, and it's kind of one of those things where we have a lot to we need to relearn a lot.
Oh yeah, unlearn and relearn.
Unlearn and relearn. Yeah, 100%. Let's go to that next question, Manny. You want to go ahead and knock off that next question for us?
Yeah, I got you. So why is it important to make our own foundations and stores?
That's That's an obvious answer. Anybody want to jump in, Vaughn?
I mean, definitely the right people, the right connections with those fashion stores and getting promoted, it would definitely grow within like in a year or two, in a couple months. As long as you have that right resource and knowing who to talk to, knowing who can actually help you and be an asset instead of a liability on your team, man, this business will run smooth. And then probably when you pass, you can pass it on to your family or whoever's gonna take over, and knowing who can actually trust that.
Yeah.
That's facts.
I'll go ahead and take it next. The reason why it's so important to me is because I grew up in North Minneapolis, and I'm gonna just give you a point of view of what I see. When I go into the corner store, it's not a black person running that store. When I go to the gas station, it's not a black person running that store. When I go to the bank, it's not a black person running that store. And then to mention, North Minneapolis, we only got one grocery store, and it's not that good. So now we're seeing that we don't have any of the resources, and then when we see the places that we're spending our money, we're noticing like, man, all we can do is buy items, but we can never be on the other side. We could never be, that could never be our store. That could, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where it's like, we're seeing the history. Like, we don't see many black-owned gas stations, corner stores, any of that. We're fine with going to someone else's business. And it's because we haven't got to see that yet. We always need that role model or that person who breaks the mold for us, and it hasn't been there yet. And I think it's a little bit based off of where we're at right now and the locations. I think North Minneapolis is almost like a war zone for a reason, and I think there's only one grocery store for a reason, and I think there's more black people there than there is around the rest of the state for a reason.
Definitely.
For us to be able to see that there's not much for us out there other than what's really out there. The couple of corner stores we got, and none of them are ran by us.
Facts. I want to share that, before we even talk about having a store, and just for the context of this conversation, we've already talked about unity. So before you have a store, you have to have some type of unity in your community with your people. But what you were saying about, we're on the side of buying and not selling. It's been very made aware to us that our quote unquote revolutionary ancestors from the civil rights movement, a lot of them, their version of freedom was freedom to consume in other people's stores, freedom to go buy and spend money with somebody that hates you or doesn't look like you. So once we understand that is another part of our culture that has been put into us. We don't like ourselves, so we go spend money with other people. If you look at other communities, before they even have a business, obviously there's some unity, and then they know, I'm gonna go spend my money with people that look like me because it's gonna help my community specifically, instead of going to spend some money and helping somebody that's really not planning on helping my community. Right. If anything, that money's going towards the detriment of my community. So yeah, before you have a foundation or a store, it starts with loving yourself to be able to go want to spend money with somebody that looks like you.
All right. I don't want us to shy too much off the topic, but there's one thing that is kind of irritating me, and it's the fact that there's almost like there's two different kind of black people right now. And there's black people who love themselves, and there's black people who hate themselves. And they're fine with taking pleasure in killing another black person, hating another black person. How do we actually be able to get to the point where we can enlighten them, or at least have that conversation to where it's like, hey, this isn't a situation where we're going to keep saying, we blame the white man, we blame this person, but we actually have a chance now to make that next step. And what are we going to do? Because I feel like there are a lot of people that are in the community doing that, but at the same time, it's going to come from the youth. And the youth right now, they don't care. They're the ones with the weapons. They're the ones that are doing most of the violence right now. So how do we actually get the youth to listen, being that some of them don't have fathers in the home, and some of them don't have role models that look like us. And there's not many of us that hold themselves like this. So how do we reach out to those that kind of don't even believe our kind exists?
I believe it can't, because this generation really taught us like loyalty and friendship. Oh, my bad. Can't really. This generation really taught us friendship can be destroyed any given day, any given moment. And like Charleston White said about the youth, they don't want to listen. It's all in the rap. That's where the youth go to. You can. He said in the school, you want to tell a kid what's his favorite artist. There's your answer right there.
Yeah.
And then that's their motivation, and it's hard to really teach that because there's nothing you can do about it now. But even though if you try talking to them, it's going out one ear and going out the other.
Yeah, I hear that, but it's hard for me to accept being the fact that it's like black people are also very influential, and the second they say something's not cool, the whole world gonna follow along and say it's not cool. So why can't we say killing each other and talking about ops in the song, it's not cool no more?
I just want to briefly say, with consistency and action, even with myself, even being here, doing all of these different practices as far as bettering myself with meditation, grounding, visualizing every day, wanting to be that better person. You know, that wasn't an overnight thing. So with consistency, I was able to be enlightened, you know, thanks to my brother. Just being around that and having that cohort of positive people around you, you know, there's no lost hope in, you know, having them cross over to this.
Not at all.
And really awaken and see what's going on, you know. So I really just feel like consistency and action. But you can speak on it more.
I'm gonna say for foundations and structures, it definitely starts in the education system. Like that's if we want to be thorough, and you know, it could just be community conversations and you know trying to get somebody individually. There's individual people that are lost, and then there's individuals that aren't, that we have to run into. But when we want to reach the masses, because we're talking about the masses of people that need to be reached, it starts with us people that are on this type of time to come together, pool our money together, just like our ancestors have told us since day one. Pool your money together and go build something for your people specifically that reflect what you want in your future, not reflecting what somebody else wants in their future.
Right. I love that. Ra, I'm gonna go ahead and select you to answer that last question for the Culture TED Talk.
So I think that says we're most athletic.
Yeah, we're the most, but it got erased.
Oh, okay. We're the most athletic at sports, but
we don't like to play on the same
but we don't like to play on the same team.
Is there any truth in that to you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Sadly enough,
What you mean by that? Like, what y'all mean by that? Like, plainly saying.
We're not together. So what Dez was just recently talking about, how he feels like there's two different sides of black people.
Yeah.
Or us as a community, Africans, really. He can have his vision on this, and I can have my vision on that, say. But we're never coming together to get that fulfilled vision or what we need, what's a necessity for our kids coming down.
I love that you said that, and it's this is the messed up part too, because a lot of this comes from our parents. The reason I love that is because that actually happened to me in my household. I had different views than just about everybody in the house, but instead of coming together to kind of meet a middle ground, because we're all under the same household, we're all moving forward or we're all crashing and burning. But instead of all of us saying, hey, everybody's on this ship together, let's take everything into consideration, it was like, no, you're this age, or no, this is your habit, like you don't get to say this and you don't get to say that. So if that's coming from our elders, it's going to be up to us to say different. And now I kind of see why the youth is going around being reckless, because they're like, you know what I mean, like we listened to you guys and you didn't listen to us.
We've been shut out for so long.
Yeah, so now we're going to do whatever we want.
We need a voice now.
Exactly. And I think if there was a better leader, then it would be easier for the youth to actually follow along.
For sure.
But as of right now, let's look at the rap scene again. The best rapper you know, or the most famous one you know, whether it's Moneybagg Yo, or whether, you know what I mean? What are we looking at that they have? They have, you know what I mean? They have materialistic things, and most of them have multiple baby mothers. They, you know what I mean? None of their situations are pretty much different than anyone in the hood right now.
Right.
So now that's all we're seeing, and then we go back to what we were talking about in North Minneapolis, where we don't see anybody owning that gas station, we don't see anybody owning those stores. We haven't seen much. So even though there are some leaders coming up, how are we actually going to be able to get those leaders out there?
Right.
I think that's the biggest question, because if they seen, obviously they're going to see this podcast, our community is going to see us in the community, which is great, but how do we get this a worldwide thing? Because it'll start here, 100%, I can bet you it'll start here.
Definitely.
But how do we get everyone else to follow along what we're trying to start?
Right. Definitely starts with learning your history, for sure, and understanding that this is a fight that's been being fought for hundreds of years. And unfortunately, we're saying the same things that we said in the early 1900s, that we need to come together, and we're saying the same things that a lot of our leaders have said. But, just putting those words into action and not just talking.
Yeah, and even having things shown as let's say when COVID started, a lot of Black people were going into hospitals. The numbers started going up, but that wasn't the real COVID numbers going up. That was them killing our Black people because we're in their infrastructure, in their hospitals, and we can't get help to fix our people. So that's one sign that we just need to wake up. But it's a hard thing to do.
It's a hard conversation for someone to tell you that the land that you're standing on is not for you, even though it was built by you. And then sometimes when you tell people that, they look at you like you're crazy, if that's not a reality.
Right.
And for me, I'm at the point where if people want to be like that, that's fine. I'm not here to convince the whole world my views, but for Black people in general, why do you think it's hard for us to see the truth? Because the proof is in the pudding.
Right.
It's because, to be honest, like, we've even had this conversation with some of our coworkers, you know what I mean? And they're kind of making it seem like we were just like blaming the white man or blaming this, but our history has shown that in every way they're trying to split us up and put us against each other. And now we're in the future now, and we actually do have a little bit of breathing room to rebuild that.
Right.
And now that we're rebuilding it, we just want people to know that the history has to be learned for you to understand that back then it was a little bit more aggressive. Now it's a little bit more a mental battle now.
Definitely mental.
And if you go through something physically for so long, don't you think over time your mental's gonna deteriorate?
For sure.
And then you'll be exactly like the animal they were trying to tell you you were.
For sure. Which is really
What they want.
who they, which is really what they wanted, but it's really who they are. These people are projecting their insecurities and their true personality onto indigenous people, onto African people, and saying that they're whatever they said, they're I forgot the word, but savages, calling us savages and saying that we're subhuman. These are all things that they're fearful of, that they are. They think that they're the actual savages and that they're subhuman because they know the science and they know the history and they know who the chosen people are. So there's a reason that you have to keep these people down, because when you don't, even though I don't believe this will happen if African people did get power, I don't think it's in us to even try to do something that was done to us in any kind of way. But that's what people are fearful of. Is that
I could see doing something like that, and then over time, it's like now that we're evolving and they've given us certain rights, that it's like in the back of a lot of their minds, like, hey, we don't, you know what I mean? We're not trying to do any reverse slavery. We're not, you know what I mean? And I could see it's kind of like a cop out, like we're all human, we're all one, you know what I mean? But it's like at this point, let's say we do get our things together, we start owning stores, we get exactly what we want and what we need. How do we stop those same violent youth who kill each other to make it a race war and try to do the exact same thing?
Yeah, it definitely, all I can really say is the education system. It starts in the education system. Right now, the people that are in there in public school, the way I see it, it's like a kind of a waste of time unless you're really pursuing a college degree that will, put you and your people in a better position. But for a lot of people that aren't really interested in school or have traumatic history with school, it's honestly a waste of time, and we're learning more from our phones.
Facts. Keep saying that every time. I learn a lot from TikTok. It's crazy.
Yeah. Good
Not
stuff.
just that alone.
Good stuff or bad stuff? What do you think you're getting more of?
That goes back to the education thing too. Good stuff, depending on how you set up your algorithm.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think I think we're gonna wrap this conversation up, but I really want everyone at home to think about those 4 questions that we were asking each other and to ask yourself in the community. This isn't at this point we're for the culture, you know. So it we've had people who are outside the culture as far as black people who still help out in our culture.
For sure.
So it's one of those things where this isn't just a question for black people, you know. This is a question for people who love the culture, you know. So I want you guys, while you're at home, go ahead and ask that question, you guys. And next we will be excited to introduce the song of the week, which will always be an MN artist. And guys, we will be back with our question of the day right here on For the Culture. Welcome back to For the Culture podcast.
For the Culture.
You can find that song on all streaming platforms, guys. Please go ahead and support them. And now we come to the portion of the podcast where we ask our question of the day. Guys, the question of today is, what's something you want to be remembered by after you die? Bond?
I mean, mic check. My mic ain't on?
Yeah, man. I just muted you. Go ahead. It should work now.
Oh, wow. You're wrong for that. You're wrong for that. I just want to be remembered as a hardworking person and an intelligent man, for real. Because through the years, I really put in some hard work, and also being a semi-pro winner and a champion, even though they're actually going to the championship this next month on the 3rd. So
they're going back. Okay.
Yes, sir. They're going back. Wish I could play, but wishing the boys luck.
This for football?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, semi-pro, man. He came in with a big ring last time we had an interview. We interviewed him about his football career and stuff, man. He's had a beautiful journey with football.
That's what's up. That's up.
You guys are the community activists over here. I'm curious to see.
Man.
You can go ahead.
Honestly, like I be thinking about this question all the time.
Wow.
And you know, because people say like they want to be famous for a lot of different things. Truthfully, in my eyes, the most famous you can be for anything as a black person, if I were to be remembered by something, it would be just me helping free African people. Truthfully. Truthfully.
Yeah. Well, I believe you're already doing that.
Yes, sir.
Manny.
Me, man, it comes from one of my great mentors, KJ. The term is burnt. So we like to say it doesn't mean pigment or anything with skin color.
Okay.
But super serious in what I do. Definitely a troll at some times.
Yeah, I second that.
So that completes the burnt definition. Like, oh, the dude is out of there, but he's super serious. Yeah.
Yeah, you're burnt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we know this. But I want to be looked. I want to be looked at as someone that's always giving resources back. Like, okay, he did this, but he was also burnt. He was out of there.
Right.
Yeah, that's
I like that. I think you're gonna be the only person on earth who's being remembered by being burned.
Yeah,
For sure.
All right, I think it might be my turn. What's something you want to be remembered by after you die? I actually have not thought about this question too much. I'm a little bit in the now right now,
Okay, that's
and
awesome.
I don't really like how people are remembering me now. So maybe I'm on a verge to change that right now. But I used to want to be remembered by my music and the creative side of who I was. I feel like I was so creative and I can create anything out of nowhere. So 100%. But that was something that I was like, I wanted to be my trademark. I wanted people to know me for that. But now when I look certain people in their eyes, the comfort I could see in their eyes, the self-love I can be able to teach people just by loving myself, the mentorship, like I look at a lot of people who are older than me and they're like, man, I'm looking up to you, you know what I mean? Right. So for me to kind of see that I've done a million things to get here and I just barely made it, to have somebody who's older than me, like, man, when I was your age, I was nowhere near that, you know? For me, it means a lot. So it's a number of things, but I just wanna be remembered for that change, you know?
And just you long way. We love you, brother.
I love you guys too. Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you guys, man. The question of the day was not supposed to be 5 minutes, but
Y'all can
sometimes
ask yourself that too. What do you want to be remembered as after you die? That's a question y'all can ask yourselves too out there. So,
yeah, and I think that question will actually spark a change in the way that you act yourself, you know, because I feel like a lot of people are out there kind of, just like I said, living in the moment, you know, and they're trying to figure it out day by day. But once you ask the question like that, you're like, hey, I'm not thinking about when I die. I'm so and so. I'm already this age. I'm not trying to think about when I die. But when you do form that question, you're like, dang, let me think about all the things that I've done. Like, actually, a good question would be, if you died today, what do you think you would be remembered by? So I'm gonna just go ahead and spin that question one more time, because we got a little bit more time. So if you died today, what do you think you would be remembered by?
Can I also answer that?
Yeah.
And would you be fulfilled with what you did today?
Manny, start.
Dang, okay. If I died today, say what was the beginning of that?
Yeah,
Sorry.
if you died today, what do you think people would remember you by?
Man, it honestly goes back to what I was saying for my long term, because I'm already moving in that work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am extremely burnt. But at the same time,
They're gonna be stealing your lingo after this.
Hey,
People finna be like, I'm burnt, man. They're gonna be like, what does that even mean? Like, oh, you gotta check out Manny, man. He gonna explain it the
Ebonics
best.
dictionary coming out soon.
Let's get it.
But honestly, just giving back on a macro level, that's really what I'm gonna be known by. Just he always had an open heart, so I feel like I'd be going out like that today. I'd be fulfilled with what I did, knowing I'm giving more than I'm bringing in.
Yeah. Wow.
And loving that.
Yeah. It takes a real man, right?
I would say I'm in a period of my life where I'm still transitioning from people knowing me by like my talent with basketball. So today I feel like it would be in between, like, oh, he was a really good basketball player, a really good athlete. That along with he was really serious about, you know, promoting unity amongst his people.
Yeah, I would definitely remember you as a community activist. A number of things, but if I could tell somebody, I would be like, man, it's a number of things, but a community activist,
That's real.
for sure. Vaughn?
for myself, I'll probably say I never shy away from nothing. Like I'm willing to try new things. Like when I hear from people, like willing to try new things, never gave up, putting in that challenge, putting in that work. And I just feel like I've been doing that for a couple years now. Like I get talked down by, and then I just feel like it puts a fire in my system. Like if I can't beat you, I probably can't. It's just that I put in that work. You might win the war, but I'm gonna win that battle for sure. So it's like,
Yeah. And would you be fulfilled with how people remembered you by?
I definitely would be fulfilled because like I said, I put in a lot of work for anything that I did, trying out new things. Even if I failed, to be honest, I never gave up. Even though when I get knocked down, I always got back up. No matter how hard my life has been, I never gave up.
I love that. I love that. For me, yeah, this gonna sound burnt, man. This gonna sound burnt, but I think they're gonna remember me by doing whatever I want, getting wherever I want.
Wow. Okay, you're on that road of birth.
Yeah. That's why I said I'm trying to change it, because I feel like
It's your story.
yeah, it's my story, but I've dealt with so much just to get to this point right now that I didn't get a chance to look at my character or how I was treating other people. Imagine you being 15 and you got to find out where you got to sleep. No, I don't want to be your best friend today. No, I don't want to be funny Malik today. I don't want to crack jokes today.
Right.
So it took a lot to be able to get to this point to kind of feel like, man, I got a roof over my head. I got a car. I got a good job. I'm taking care of everything. It's like, it feels like it took my whole life to get here. So now that I'm kind of looking back and I've seen a lot of people I've hurt and a lot of people I've helped, but along that journey, I'm like, dang, I didn't even see it at all. You know, I just got here and was like, dang, I'm still alive. And now I kind of get the chance to go back and write the next part of my story. So I would definitely be fulfilled, but I'm not gonna lie. I feel like if I died today, it'd be a bunch of burnt answers. Like that man did whatever he wanted to do, and still got his way.
But with that, there's still love with that.
Yeah.
You know, they know. Oh yeah, Dad's had this. They have their story for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus, you don't got nothing for them. Like who?
Right.
Who died?
True.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, it'd be a sad day, man. but yeah, I can tell you right now, if I die, it ain't about to be no quiet day, man. Everybody finna be crying in this mug. We gonna have to turn up or something. But I think that's kind of what we all should want for each other, you know?
Yeah.
Like you want people to make noise for you. Like it doesn't always have to be a crying or a sad thing. But
Sure.
I just gotta share this story just because it just correlates. But so my mom, she had this trait where it was like whoever was around her, it doesn't matter culture, whatever your background was, like you're gonna end up falling in love with her because she had this self-love that was top tier. And it was to the point where it was like, even though she had her personal issues, she could teach you how to love yourself. She really could, you know? And the way she would spread love is like she did it more times than she did herself, you know? She just always spread love, always make sure the room is good. And that's a trait that I tried to pick up and realized that it was a little bit too heavy of a sword for me to carry. So I'm carrying my own sword and shield, but for me, that's something I really honor. And I think everyone remembers my mom for being that light in everybody's life.
Shout out to all the moms.
Yeah, shout outs to all the mama dudes, guys.
Shout out TRY.
Guys, while you guys are at home, you guys gotta ask yourself 2 questions today, not one. The first question is, what is something you want to be remembered by after you die? And the second one is, if you died today, what do you think you would be remembered by? Guys, here on For the Culture, we always like to go deep. You know how we do it. Ask your family and friends. Let's go, guys. In addition to the shout out, we want to make it a point that when you tune in to For the Culture, that we highlight businesses, events, and services that can be important resources for the community overall. We call it the Resource Spotlight. And for this show's Resource Spotlight, who we got?
First, I want to just say much gratitude to this opportunity to, promote what I feel is a really, really like important space for all of us. The Black Youth Healing Arts Center, or BYHAC for short, that's the acronym, Black Youth Healing Arts Center, so BYHAC. We are located on 643 Virginia Street in St. Paul in the Frogtown community. All of our programming is pretty much rooted and centered in wisdom that comes from the diaspora, that comes from the continent, comes from community, and all the programs are, made to fit into something that's rooted in Blackness. It's all targeted towards youth. There's art involved. It is a healing space, so the foundation is rooted in healing through trauma, healing from trauma through breath work and learning the power of our breath. And then, it's a center that's ran by us, it's for us. All of the programming is usually created by the youth that participate, from ages from like 8 to 26 is the target audience. Really like 13 to 26, but there's some little kids in there too, and we got programming for them. So today is Thursday. Thursdays we got gardening at 5:15. So if you want to learn how to come grow your own food, and if you want to take food home that we grew and that you can cook, we also learn how to prepare that food at the building so you don't go home not knowing what to do. That, and then at 6 p.m. is Afrofusion dance, which is an African style dance led by one of our program directors, Sister Patricia, and she's been dancing internationally pretty much for her whole life. She's an elder, so she leads that. And then tomorrow we got basketball. Throughout the week there's yoga, there's drumming, there's poetry, there's a lot of different programs, all meant to be healing. It's all rooted and centered and created by Black people with wisdom from Black people. So yeah, thank you again for putting a spotlight on us. 643 Virginia Street.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you, guys. I have personal experience at this place. It really is a healing center. That's the one thing that I could say, guys. Please go ahead and check them out here at For the Culture. We want to thank you for tuning in. This has been a pleasure here at For the Culture.
For the culture!
Podcast brought to you by Kulture Klub Collaborative. Make sure you follow us on IG. That is Kulture Klub with 2 Ks. While you're in our IG, please slide in our DM and give us some feedback on the show, guys. We would love to hear your feedback, some question of the days you might want to hear, maybe some songs from some MN artists you think deserve to be featured on this show. Guys, until next time, remember, we are for the youth, for the arts,
For the culture!